Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a sewing video. I'm going to show you how I make my face masks. I've been posting them on Instagram and I've gotten a lot of requests on how to make them. I decided to simplify it just a little bit so that it's easier for you guys to recreate as well. This video specifically is going to show you how to make a mask that is stretchy because I am using knit fabric and I just feel like they fit better on my face. And this one is going to be doubled, so that means you can also line it with a filter if you need to. So before we get started, I do want to note that the patterns for these masks, I have them in women's, men's, and children, and it will be linked down below in the description box. So if you want to use that, go ahead and freely use them and print them out. So I'm using a t-shirt for this, and the only reason why is because it is readily available in most households. Also, in comparison to other textiles, it is quite protective, and if you double it up and stick a filter in between the two pieces, it adds to the protection. And of course, one t-shirt can make more than one mask. I think you can get away with making 3 per 1XL t-shirt. So let's move on to the pattern. I'm cutting out 2 of the lining pattern and 2 of the front pattern. Next, at the bottom of the shirt, what I'm going to try to do is I'm trying to cut out a really long strip of fabric that's about 1.5 inches wide. So this is going to end up being the ties to my mask. So the longer I can get a nice continuous strip, the better. Next up, I take the front pieces and also the lining pieces. I face them right sides together, and then I just sew right down the center front. Next, I open up the lining and I have the wrong side facing me, and I fold the sides inwards by 1/2 inch and I sew down. With the front main piece, I have the right sides facing me, and then I take the lining piece and I face it down on top of it. Now I'm going to match the center front seam from the main piece and the lining piece together, and I sew all the way across on the top, and I sew all the way across on the bottom, attaching the 2 pieces together. Next, take the mask, flip it inside out, and just flatten it out as best as you can. And what I do next is I went ahead and just did a top stitch on the top and on the bottom. Now, since this is knit, I like to use a zigzag stitch so that it can still stretch a little bit. If you use a top stitch and you stretch it too much, it might snap. Okay, I'm gonna change the lighting on this a little bit so you can see what I'm doing here, but with the lining side facing me, as you can see, I'm taking the edge and I'm folding it inwards by 1/2 inch, matching it to the lining. Make sure you don't overlap where the lining is because that's going to be the pocket for the filter, and I just sew straight down to create a channel for where the ties are going to go. Now for the ties, it's pretty simple. I just take the strip and I fold it in half and I sew all the way across. And here I'm using a loop turner to pull the strand inside out so that the seam can get hidden inside of the tie. Now I feed the tie through the channels of the mask, and I did cut the tie in half. That's the reason why I like to make it extra long so that I can use them for both sides of the mask and not have to sew twice. And to secure, I just tie a knot on each end of the tie. Okay, so here's the fun part, it's decorating it. My original ones were made with embroidery thread, but that might take a little bit too much time for some of you guys. So if you want, you can use puffy paint, and I think it looks just as good. I'm just doing some whiskers here and like a cute little swirly cheek. I think the best way to do this is to actually try on the mask and figure out where your nose and your mouth is. This way, when you put it on, it looks like where it needs to be, and it looks a little bit more realistic as a humanoid cat can be. And then you let the paint dry for 24 hours, and that is pretty much it. Now, if you want to use a filter, by all means, you can stick one in between the 2 pieces here. If you can find mask filters, that's awesome. If not, coffee filters has been working for some people as well. And that's just pretty much it. Okay, so here's a fun bonus one for ya. I'm gonna show you how to make the second mask using some cute little fringes. And yeah, it's a little bit extra and it's not for everyone, but it's definitely for me. To do this, I'm going to use some twine from the Dollar Tree because I am obsessed with this stuff and I've done so many amazing things with it. Yeah, you can find it in the hardware aisle at the Dollar Tree. So what I do next is I just wrap the twine around my hands just a couple of times, depending on how big or how long I want the fringes to look. After wrapping it around my fingers a couple of times, I cut the loops at the top and the bottom so that it creates little tiny threads. So next I use double-sided sewing tape, and I will link the exact ones that I use. And what I do is I have the adhesive facing towards me, and then I just lay the fringes down one by one. I know it seems like it would take forever to do, but surprisingly it actually goes by really quickly, and for my brain it's very therapeutic. So once I have the length of trim that I want, I'm just gonna go ahead and peel the paper backing off and then attach that to whatever I'm sewing. So for example, on my mask, I'm just going to lay the trim right on top of the mask and just snip it down to size. So the tape is just a temporary solution to hold the fringes together. What I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna go ahead and sew it down. You can use a zigzag stitch, but for me, I like to sew multiple lines parallel next to each other. And to clean up the fringes, I'm just using a nice comb to brush it all out, and then I take a pair of scissors to cut along the curvature of the mask. Also, you don't want the fringes to be too long because then it can get in your eye and it might tickle your face, so trimming it down will really help out with that. But there's a reason why you want to make the fringes a little bit longer so that you can trim it down to size and have it give you a really nice clean look. Next, I'm just busting out some nice little gems and beads that are in my crafting cave here, and I'm pretty sure everyone has some kind of bits and bobs laying around that they can attach to their mask, which I think is kind of fun because it kind of shares a little bit of your personality and identity a bit, especially since half of it is getting taken away and hidden behind a mask. So before I hand sewed these down, I did use a fabric glue to attach the gems to the mask. Try to use something that doesn't have a very strong smell, and if you do, make sure you air it out for about 24 to 48 hours. And here I'm just using some needle and thread just to sew down all of the beads and to really secure it down, because nothing is going to be more painful than to pull your mask out of the wash and realize that all of your pretty artwork has fallen out in the dryer. So there it is. I know this one can be a little bit out there, but you know, the things I myself do for fashion, but at the same time trying to stay safe and protected. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that it was helpful and maybe it gets some of your creative juices going, because I know we are very much in need of some creativity and some inspiration these days. If you do try this out, please tag a photo to my Instagram and I would love to check it out. I love to see other people's work, and I will catch you guys in the next video. For now, like, comment, subscribe, you know, do all the stuff. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!